All right, I want to talk about a few things. Um, all the things I'm going to be talking about, you can find for yourself by listening to the November 5th, November 6th, and November 9th police interviews of Steven. Uh, one thing I want to talk about is Steven says that he comes out. You know, when Teresa gets there, she takes the picture, and he comes out while she's doing all this. Okay, so you know it's I don't think that's the way it happened, but anyway, okay, during the I think it's the November 6th interview, the detectives asked Stephen if he ever invited, or if Teresa had ever been in his house, and he says, "Yeah, she's been in my house." And then he backtracks and says, "Well, you know, she come to the door," and they ask her. They asked Stephen when the last time that Teresa came to, you know, to his door, and he says it was the time before October 31st. So I don't know. I can't remember if it's the Monday before, or the Monday before that, that she came to his door. That's the last time that Teresa came to his door. Um, in the November 9th interview with Wiegert and Fossbender, Stephen states that the only time she ever came to the door was maybe when she first started coming up there, like the first time or the first couple of times that Teresa, you know, came to the to take pictures of vehicles that he had had. So November 6th, he says that she came to the door the time before October 31st, and on November 9th, he says that the only time she'd come to the door was when she first came up there, the first time she, you know, started coming up there. So you can take, you know, take that for what it is. All right. According to Stephen, Teresa comes there, you know, she takes the picture, she writes the serial number down, and, you know, he comes outside, he brings her the money, and she gives him the auto trader book, you know, while she's in the vehicle, she gives him the auto trader book, and then she leaves, you know, so Stephen goes in. At this time, Bobby's still there. Um, he says he goes in, lays the auto trader book down beside his computer, comes back out, and Bobby's gone. Says Bobby vehicle's not there because he was going to go see if Bobby was at home or whatever. And then, you know, he says that Bobby's vehicle's gone, and he says he sees Teresa's vehicle, uh, you know, turning left or whatever down the drive, but he doesn't see Bobby's vehicle. Okay, if Teresa leaves and then Bobby's vehicle is still there, and Stephen goes in his house, does whatever he does, and comes back out, and Bobby's vehicle's gone, then that would have meant that Bobby should have been behind Teresa, because Teresa would have left first. So how come Stephen didn't see Bobby? That's because Bobby left first, and Teresa never left at all. Another thing, this was from the November 9th interview with Wiegert and Fossbender, and I found this to be um, sort of odd. Um, they're asking Stephen, you know, what happened after Teresa left that day, and Stephen mentions that his mom brought his mail up a little while after Teresa left. So I think Wigert is the one that's questioning him. He is trying, to find out what time that his mom would have been up there, because Steven doesn't have an exact time. I think he says it's like 5 or 10 minutes after Teresa left that his mom comes up with his mail. So Wigert says something like, so Teresa was here at 2:30. She stayed 5 minutes, so it would have been like 2:35. Meaning 2:35 when Steve's mom came up. And Steven was like, no, it was in between 2 and 2:30, that Teresa was there. Okay, so what Steven's saying is Teresa was not there. It was before 2:30 that Teresa came, because you can hear Steven say, after Steven says it was between 2 and 2:30, you can hear him say it could have been 2:05, 2:10, or a quarter after. So Steven is making it, a point, that Teresa was not there. She was there before 2:30. She couldn't have been there on 2:30. At 2:30, it was before, and we all know that that is not true, because Steven calls Teresa's cell phone at 2:25, and his reasoning for that is he wanted to see if she was coming, because I guess he wanted to make sure that she was gonna be there to take the picture. So that was at 2:25. Okay, so she wasn't there at 2:25. Okay, at 2:27, Auto Trader calls Teresa and talks. I think the duration was 4 minutes and something. So at 2:27, do the math, it's going to bring it past 2:30. So the earliest she's going to be there is 2:32. Okay, so it's after 2:30 when Teresa gets there. Has to be. There's no way she could have been there before 2:30. Plus you got the call that Steven makes at 2:35. I mean, they never touch on that phone call, because they don't at the time, I don't guess they know that it existed, because he asked Steven how many times that he called her, and he says 2 or 3 times, but he doesn't mention any time, what time it was when he called. And he called at 2:25, 2:35, and 4:35. So we all know that Teresa could not have been, she couldn't have got there before 2:30. I mean, it's not possible.